The question, who am I, is something that all of us ask ourselves from time to time. In this session, we'll introduce and explain your career and work-life grid. Our goal is to look at your interests, behavior, and motivations in the broader stylistic sense. We want to paint a picture of you with a large brush and create an overview of what kind of work will motivate you the most. In the second video on this grid, we'll talk more specifically about how motivation affects your specific performance on the job. To some degree, you may already be familiar with this concept of grid modeling or behavior grids. There are quite a number of these four-quadrant or four-color grids in use today. Often when people see our grid, they immediately think, oh, I've done that before, or say, I've done something just like that before, and maybe they've done something similar. But we hope that you will find a more intuitive and easy to understand approach with our use of this model, one that you will be able to apply more simply without a lot of interpretation into your daily thinking and behavior as you use your PSI report to better manage yourself, make better choices in what you do, and improve your overall communication and relationships with others. Let's start by looking at where the grid came from to begin with as we talk about your style. Hippocrates, who we know as the father of medicine, was also the father of four-quadrant grids. About 2,500 years ago, Hippocrates started all this crazy psychobabble when he said, you can take all the people in the world and put them into one of four categories and accurately predict how they are going to behave. So we call this model the Hippocratic Model. The model is based on opposites, polar forces, interactive dynamics that are pushing and pulling at one another. What is at the top of the model is the opposite of what is at the bottom. What is over on the left side of the model is the opposite of what is on the right. What is in the upper left-hand corner is the opposite of what is in the lower right-hand corner. You will find this an easy model to understand and gain the big picture. Let's consider the vertical axes, the up and down axes. It's a measure of how you present yourself to the world. People at the top are direct, outgoing, extroverted, and engaging. So people at the bottom of this axis are more indirect, soft-spoken, introverted, and reserved. What do introverts think of extroverts, and what do extroverts think of introverts? Sometimes under stress, extroverts think introverts are weak, inept, stupid, and even incompetent. And introverts think extroverts are pushy, brash, overbearing, and obnoxious. And these can be some of their more polite descriptive words. None of these assumptions are necessarily true, of course. Now, let's consider the horizontal axes, the left to right dimension. On the left side of the model are the black and white, the tangible, the factual and objective elements of our lives. It is or it isn't. You can touch it. You can see it. You can grab hold of it. It just simply and obviously is. So over on the right side of the model are all the shades of gray, the subjective, intangible, the intuitive, the abstract, all the human relational and interpersonal factors of our lives. All of us, in fact, have each and every one of the characteristics that I've just been describing, and I expect that in various ways you already know that. So, what's your style, your unique configuration? What is your combination or permutation of all of these common human characteristics? To help make the model easier to remember, we'll again add some color and also add some words to describe these four quadrants in order to gain a better understanding of what the model really represents. These words, incidentally, are Hippocrates' words. They go back to his first use of the model. Let me help you out by translating his words into English. Many of the other methods that use this model use their own words, but we believe that you will grasp the most important meaning of the model by going back to the very basics and using Hippocrates' words for right now. In the upper left, Hippocrates said there are doers. These are people who like to be very hands-on and mechanical. They're task-oriented. They like to work with things. They like to achieve physical, tangible results, and Hippocrates called them doers. Hippocrates called the people in the upper right talkers. These are people who like to motivate and persuade and influence the thinking and behavior of other people. People who like to work with people are what Hippocrates called talkers. In the lower right, Hippocrates said there are thinkers. These are people who prefer to work conceptually with their minds. They like work that is abstract, conceptual, analytical, and even artistic. Very creative and innovative people like this, Hippocrates called thinkers. And in the lower left, Hippocrates said there are counters, like counting money. These are people who like to keep track, to work with systems, use rules and procedures. They're motivated to enact and sustain a plan. Hippocrates called people who like to work by the numbers counters. Once again, red people like to work with their hands. Blue people like to work with their minds. Green people like to work within relationships, and orange people like to work with and through routines. Red people like to get task-oriented results. Blue people like to get idea-oriented results. Green people like to get people-oriented results, and orange people like to get systems-oriented results. All four of these sets of characteristics can be quite effective, and you are a unique and gifted combination of all of these different styles. Let's move ahead to some additional definitions that include a more detailed look at different styles of behavior. Now, I want to name or put a label on each of the quadrants and identify a specific style of behavior. I'm going to use words that end in the syllable crat, C-R-A-T, as in aristocrat. So, what kind of crat would you expect to find in each of these four quadrants? Based on what we've just covered, what kind of crat would you expect to find in the upper left quadrant? How about autocrat? The autocrat is the person who says it needs to be done, so just do it. A lot of people, maybe you, think that they don't like autocratic behavior. I would agree that reactive, overbearing, and negative autocratic behavior is certainly inappropriate. But proactive autocratic behavior can be very effective and even save lives at times. Autocratic behavior needs to be calm and in control. It needs to be courteous and serve a positive purpose. Autocratic behavior needs to be based on mutual respect and cooperation. Then it's great behavior. Next, what kind of crat would you expect to find in the upper right? It's the Democrat with a small d. We're not talking about political parties here. The Democrat says do it not because I said do it. Golly shucks, gee whiz, no. Do it because it's in your best interest. Try it. You'll like it. Have I ever lied to you before? The Democrat likes to use persuasion to gain collaboration and consensus and team effort. What kind of crat do we find in the lower left? Well, it's the bureaucrat by definition. Don't do it because I said do it. Heck no. Do it because they said do it. Do it by the numbers. Do it by the book. We've been doing it like that around here for the last 27 years. That's the way we do things. The bureaucrat prefers to rely on precedent and proven approaches to ensure that things will get done right. Who are you? Are you a bureaucrat, an autocrat? Are you a Democrat? Now, here's a trick question, and I really want you to pass and graduate. What kind of crat would you find in the lower right? It's the no-crat, French, laissez-faire, French, without structure. The blue person, the laissez-faire person, says, do it any way you want. I could care less. Just leave me alone and let me do it my way. The no-crat prefers their independence and does not want to be made to conform or made to do things someone else's way. Now, let's have a little fun and try to make a bit more sense of all of this. Here's our situation. We have this room, and in that room are 9 little kittens. Well, maybe 8 little ones and 1 big one. The problem is that the room is a solid cube. There are no windows, there are no doors, and the job at hand is to get the 9 cats out of the room. So here's how these 4 different styles of behavior would approach solving this problem. The red person, the autocrat, cuts 1 hole in the wall and yells scat and expects every cat to move instantly. Why? Because he or she said do it. It just needs to be done. That's the autocratic approach. Do you know anybody like that? The Democrat, the green person, they cut 1 hole in the wall but take a slightly different tact. They stand outside the room with a saucer of cream and say, here, kitty, 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 kitties, come on outside, the sun's shining, we're going to play, we're going to have a great time, and tries to motivate the cats out of the room. That's the Democrats' approach, and I bet you know someone like that. The orange person, the bureaucrat, very neatly cuts 2 holes in the wall and meticulously paints even over 1 hole and odd over the other, and then expects the cats to count off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and they want the even-numbered cats 2, 4, 6, 8 out the even-numbered hole, and the odd cats 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 out the odd-numbered hole, and God save the cat that gets out of order. I'm sure you know someone like that. The blue person, the no-crat. The laissez-faire person doesn't cut any holes. He or she just stands around for a week or a month or a couple of months and scratches his or her head and says, why do we want to get the cats out? and the cats all die from starvation, and that solves the problem. That's the laissez-faire approach, and I bet you do know someone like that too. I usually get myself in a whole bunch of trouble with blue people when I tell this silly story. You have your own career and work-life grid. You are all of the dynamics that we have just talked about, but you're a unique combination of all of these factors as they motivate and influence your behavior. In the next session, we'll take a closer look at the different configurations and what they say about you. Thank you again for your business and for your participation in this training series. I hope it's beginning to make some sense for you and starting to pay off. And I look forward to having you join me in the next session.